Welcome to another episode of She Unleashed. She Unleashed is, of course, brought to you by Phumza Gyani. It is targeted at a corporate woman. It is targeted at an entrepreneur that is looking to make great things. You're looking to pivot. You're looking to make your next move. And we bring the best across the globe of women who are coming to share with you what they've done. It's amazing women who have different stories to tell. And they've been there. They've done their part. And they are willing to share with us the pearls of wisdom. Today, we have an extraordinary guest who is so dear to my heart because of just how great she is. But she has the humility and the sisterhood where she's always willing to help out Black women to rise to their purpose. She has accolades from here to Timbuktu. But the few that I'd like to mention, of course, are that she's a doctor. She is a certified and authorized publisher, as well as the chairperson for the committee of the U.S. Presidential Center. She is the 2020 Australian Women of Influence nominee. She is also the top 100 Women of Influence nominee. She'll correct me because I think I've got the second one wrong. Dr. Hazel Herrington, it is such an honor and a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome on board.
Oh, thank you, Phumza. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here today on your podcast. And when you read out the accolades, I was the Australian Woman of the Year nominee and one of the top 100 women of influence here in Australia. And it's been an exciting journey.
Tell me about this one. Certified and authorized published for the U.S. Presidential Center.
Yeah. So I have the license to publish the presidential magazine with the U.S. Presidential Center in the United States of America. It is a pleasure and honor to work with them. As you know, the U.S. Presidential Service Center, they actually protect and promote past presidents from George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. And so just to be working with them is an honor. And this is the fruits of hard work. And this is what your show is all about. She Unleashed, women that have overcome barriers. So I'm so excited to be sharing my journey today.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Hazel. Just a little bit of your background. You moved into Australia and you've already making strides. You also have networked yourself across the board. My first meeting of you is that you are the most prominent face on LinkedIn. You are mentioned, from different forums with different accolades. Who is Hazel?
Okay. Hazel is a mom of three, first and foremost. I'm always saying to people that I love being a mom. It's difficult being a mom, especially now during COVID. Most of the time, we are spending hours trying to work and taking care of the kids. And for all the women that are stay-at-home moms, mompreneurs, I salute you and I understand what you're going through. And we're fighters. We're fighters. And my story starts in Zimbabwe. And I was a serial entrepreneur in Zimbabwe. Before I moved to Australia, I had my own restaurant, a la carte restaurant that seated 80 to 100 people. And basically also I had a Christian bookstore called Throne Room and a shoe business. And I also had a hair extension business in South Africa in Rosebank Mall. So I was a familiar.
Wow.
And I also had two charities. I Am Bible Distribution and Destiny Rise. Now, Destiny Rise empowers women to become economically independent and self-sufficient. We did business workshops and we continue to do business workshops to help women to become financially independent. We also do youth empowerment programs. And we've done a lot of those to date. Have empowered more than 50,000 women and youth in Zimbabwe. I also have been going into the prisons in Zimbabwe, and we have, transformed and changed the lives of prisoners. And it was very scary. I'll tell you, Phumza, it was very scary in the beginning. I think as women, when we have a vision, we have this great vision, but then there's the journey along the way. People don't tell you how difficult the journey will be. So going into the prisons for the first time was very scary for me. And I remember when the prison doors were opened and standing before 5,000 men, I was like, what am I doing here? And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I don't think I can do this. But yes, I could, because when it comes to following your vision and fulfilling your vision, you have to overcome the fear of unknown and the fear of failure. And I overcame that. And how do you do it? By actually facing your greatest fear. Wow. And I faced that. Yeah. And so that was Zimbabwe. And I always say to people that I've always been a businesswoman, but things changed when I moved to Australia. So when I moved to Australia for new beginnings, my mom's Australian. I am a twin. My sister's Australian. I moved to Australia. And my relationship back home had ended as well. And I decided I'm going back to school. And I'm 40 years old then, and I'm embarrassed that I'm going to school. What are people going to say? Are the students going to laugh at me? But it was the best decision I ever made. You know why? Because as I studied and as I went through every semester, I would go back to Zimbabwe, and I would actually implement everything that I learned. And I have a bachelor in Bachelor of Business and a major in entrepreneurship and small business. So it was perfect. Wow. It was perfect.
Today, we're talking about the topic of building legacy. And I mean, to me, you represent a woman that has done just that, because you have a string of accolades. You're also building this massive publication organization. Tell me, because it seems to have been a common thread across your life that you've always been an entrepreneur. Is it always in the vision that you want to leave behind a legacy?
I'll tell you what happened, Pumza, is that when people say to me, how did you start with the charity and your entrepreneurial journey? I always tell people, I remember very clearly in that I was in my restaurant and a beggar kept on coming to the restaurant every afternoon. Can I have some chips? Can I have some chips? And I was like, you know what? I need to do something about it. And that's the thing about us leaders, is that leaders do something about it. And your purpose is aligned to the pain you feel for others. Some people are drawn as nurses to people that are not feeling well. And we call that your assignment. I knew that my assignment would help the destitute women. I just felt that burden was mine, and it would hurt me, even seeing the youth dropping out of school. So I did something about it, and I registered the charities. And I think the most important thing is that I'm a woman of faith. I always say this in every interview. I'm not ashamed to say it. I love God, and the Lord had spoken to me and said to me, "Go." You know what I mean? Go out there and go and make a difference. And and I did.
And tell me, so from that's when you built all of these things that followed. It was inspired firstly from helping someone, and then it led into all these things that you've done afterwards.
Yeah. So what? Sorry about that. Yeah.
No,
but what happened is that. Yeah. So what happened is that Pumza, is that we decided to speak to this gentleman, and we said, "Listen, yeah, where are all the people that don't have food in the streets? Where do they gather?" And then he said, "At the railway station." And so I got some takeaway packs of food, and then I went to the railway station with my staff. And it was the saddest thing I've ever seen, because they had makeshift tents made out of plastic. And I took photos of that day, and I was so happy I did, because that was the beginning of my journey. So we gave them food. And then we reported to the city council that, listen, we've got people destitute staying by the railway station. Can you do something about it? They did that. And then we developed a relationship with the Bulawayo City Council, and they gave us a room at the city council to start feeding the destitute. So that's where it started. And then we moved on to doing business workshops for women, going into the prisons. Yeah.
Now, fast forward to Herrington Publications. What led to this vision, and how did you find yourself landing up now in all of this? Because it looks like a different industry. You started in the restaurant space. How does this vision come about?
Yeah, I'm very passionate about marketing and branding. And I attended multiple coaching programs, seminars, and it was just something that I just was drawn to. I with celebrities, and I was watching. Here's the thing is that I want to speak to the women now that are watching. Everything you're going through, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes, you know, because I when you go to an event, don't only look at the speaker. Look at the stage. How did they design the stage? How did they get the speakers on the stage? Can I do the same thing? And those are the questions I kept asking myself, and I would be taking notes. And so when you're talking about the publication company, I was surrounded by the movers and the shakers globally, celebrities, millionaires, billionaires. I mean, I've met Patrice Motsepe. That was my first platform in South Africa I spoke on. And what was I doing? I was watching how the American organization, the J.T. Fox organization, was running the event. I wasn't just focused on building my brand only. I was like, okay, this is how the speakers come on stage. Let's open our eyes, not just capturing the moment and taking photos, but thinking bigger, think bigger. And that's how this passion and this vision for my own publication company started, because the movers and the shakers, the J.T. Fox organization, they had magazines. They had magazines, the Power, and I featured on 3 massive magazines, an amazing magazine in South Africa called Her Grit. And so I was like, I can do this. I can do that. So you're watching me, you've heard, okay, Hazel, top 100 women of influence. Yes, you can. How did she do it? Go back, look at my YouTube videos. Phumza, look at you, amazing stuff that you're doing. How did you become the ambassador at the WBAF? These are the questions women need to be asking themselves, you know? If she can do it, I can do it.
Hazel, we touched on something particularly of importance. I think when we first started speaking, we spoke about exactly what you're saying, that it's even in the darkest of hours that we should be watching. The time of COVID is actually that excellent time where you have actually grown your whole dream. And I think there's something of importance to really be expanded in what you're saying, because sometimes we tend to be stuck more in the tragedy or in the pain. But I think your faith has something that brings out, that hope of saying something better and something bigger is coming out of this. But what do I watch for and what do I learn? How do you think your faith plays a role in even in the most dire of situations? Because we've had this private chat where we said, look, 2021 is foundations and 2022 is going to be big.
Yeah. So I want to speak to the women. I think it's important to know the difference between being a Christian and being a businesswoman, because people don't know how to create the balance in that area. Because we are global, you and I are global entrepreneurs, and not everybody's a Christian. That's list number one. So we got to know the platforms that we are on, And so what I do and how I've achieved my success is that I do a lot of praying in private. I have my relationship with God. And the most important thing I learned through my faith is what we call total life prosperity. The word of the Lord says, beloved, I wish above all things that they might prosper and be good health, even as your soul prospers. You're not going to prosper if your soul is not prospering. So you're saying to me, okay, so what do you mean? I'm saying, if you are not, number one, the word in the word, because the word will help you to prosper in health. The word will help you to prosper financially, because the word is the one, when you read the word, it gives you direction. It gives you wisdom about it. So when we're talking about how my faith has helped me, that has always been my foundation. I must prosper spiritually. I must so that the other areas are taken care of. And when I was rebellious, things did not work. You know. So and that's my advice, in that in this season we are all of different faiths. For the Christians that are watching, I love what you said. We must be able to discern the seasons and the times. I mean, it says, for as many as are led by the Spirit, they're the sons of God. You know, we have the Holy Spirit in us. You know what I mean? And the truth of the matter is that we need to be led. You know what I mean? And we need to be aware of what direction we're supposed to be going in. And I know that we've got COVID is it's affected a lot of businesses. It affected my business so badly. I had an event for entrepreneur that I was planning on doing in Zimbabwe in April last year. And because of COVID, all my plans, the money I invested, I lost, and I was stuck. And so we have women that are stuck. But guess what? I started moving in a new direction. I realized that everything going online. And then I started my own show, the Dr. Hazel Herrington show, started interviewing people. I started getting invited to speak on platforms online. And then, like I said, I realized, okay, how about I start the publication company that I started? And that's how it went. Yeah.
Wow. What is this thing that keeps Hazel going? I know it's faith, but our faith gets tested, you know, many a times. And sometimes I think what I love is even understanding that certain things, when they're challenges, are actually just redirection, because you've come out of it. You've found a different, you know, way to still build the legacy. And had it been someone who really did not have the faith, it would have been all shambles, and you would not have expected that, you know what, God is still in this season, even in the season that looks like it's got dust, but there is redirection, because there's always faith in what we do. I wanted to talk to the women, because we have the faith, we talk the faith, we speak the faith, but when it comes to those moments of really being in the down, just maybe the encouragement of just sticking it out. And I think I like this, the talk about season, understanding seasons as Christians as well, that it will always not be rosy. We don't have summers that last forever. So to understand and put things in context as the seasons and the times. What is this about you? Because there's something about you, Hazel, that I cannot pinpoint. I know because you say you're a Christian, and I've seen it in action. What keeps you going? What is this thing? I know it's based on the word. I know the answers, but I would love it coming from you. I'd love for it to come from you. There's something that you just leave and you heal in me as well as you're speaking.
Yeah, you know, Punza, I just love that question, because as women, we need to be real with each other. We need to be very, very real. It has not been easy. There are times where I felt so alone, you know. Which is 8, but when I left Zimbabwe, it was a tough time. Now I'm speaking to single. I didn't think I was. Sure. I didn't. I remember crying at the airport and wailing and saying, God, what's going to happen to my life? I went through a terrible, terrible divorce, fighting. My children were affected by it, you know. And you see, I'm so strong, but I've got scars. I do have scars. And this is the thing, I'm speaking to the women today. They may look at you and they look at us and they think our lives are perfect. It's not true. I'm the leader today because of the experiences I went through, and I'm sharing it with you. And I want to encourage you. I know you're going through COVID right now. I know your business collapsed. I know it may seem like, you know, like there's that things are so dark that you're never coming out, but you're going to come out. Because it's going to shape you into who you are, and you're going to have a story and a testimony. The problem we have is that when some people are down, they don't know how to get up again. They get down and they say, that's it, it's over. It ain't over until God says it's over. I had, you know what I mean, an appointment with myself. And I said, if I don't get up, then this is the end of my destiny. It's the end of my story. You have to come out of that dark situation. That's why it says there's a season and a time for everything. You said it. Time to cry, a time. Do you know, Pumza, that today there are people that have died? There are people that have given birth. There are people that have lost their loved ones, and that's how life is. But here's the thing: you turn your pain into a story. We talk about legacy. We talk about legacy. I want to say this to the women that are watching. Your legacy needs to be unique. We have too many women that are doing things that they're not called to do. They're not walking in their purpose. And that's why they are struggling. Because when you're doing what you're called to do, there's no struggle. You know, there's only one Pumza. There's only one TD Jakes. There's only one Hazel. When you're creating your legacy, dig deep down in yourself. What are my passions? What is it that I like doing? You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that the same thing. It doesn't mean if Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook that everybody that starts Facebook is going to leave a great legacy. No. He tapped into his gift. Yeah, and it opened him.
And I love what you're just saying, Dr. Hazel, because many are probably finding themselves in jobs where they just had to make a living. It's not necessarily their calling and the purpose. How would you inspire those women? Because sometimes we find ourselves in situations where you've had to come out and move out, you know, from a specific season, and you find yourself in a job that is a transition, but somehow we get comfortable in the transition. What word would you have those women to still have the courage to follow the purpose?
Yeah, you know, Pumza, I want to tell you a story. I also used to work for a bank. It was called NMB Bank. And I was a money market dealer. But I knew that my season was over. I had so much experience. I started from, you know, the receptionist, PA, every level that was there. And it was time for me to start my business. And there was the fear of the unknown. And women are watching right now. They're on the job, they're struggling, but they're actually so experienced, more than even their bosses. And they're only limiting themselves. Fear of what people would say. Do you know, people say to me, why would you leave your job when you've got a 4x4 and you've got your office? Are you kidding me? There's bigger things out there waiting for the salary. By the time I left the bank, what I was earning a month, I was earning in a day. Now you tell me. And sorry, and here's what I want to say to the ladies that are watching. You are in the job to get the experience, and then you move out and start your business.
Wow. Dr. Hazel, what would you say about the season that we're in as women? Because there's something that is also so fertile about the season we're in. And if people miss it, because it may look difficult for now, but like you're saying, the times, you know, especially for women.
Yeah.
Now, I want us to talk to the women that are still stuck. And I think the other thing that you mentioned, which is also almost a hindrance, is the fact that we did not have role models in the past that we've seen as symbols of success. We've had a few, like you mentioned, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, but we don't have that legacy of having seen businesses being formed and succeeding in front of us. So when you look at the script, there's always a script of fear, because what we've seen as people at least attempting to form businesses, it's been, it's been marked by failures, and that's why everyone gets scared. And they've never thought that we would have a Dr. Hazel running, the global entities that you're running. So what can we instill as faith in those women that whilst you have not seen it, it is possible?
Yeah. Pumza, here's the thing that the women need to understand. The season that we're in is a season of laying foundations and planting, and a season of planting. You and I right now, we are laying our foundations in new businesses. We are laying foundations. This is not the season and the time to bear fruit. No, there's a planting. Paul planted, Apollos watered. We are planting. You're sitting down, you're going through COVID and you're saying to yourself, no, I'm going to start doing things when, COVID is over, post-COVID. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. That is a season where people will be bearing fruit. You need to be planting. You need to be starting that business. You need to be arranging things and doing now. You need to be putting yourself out there so people know what is it that Phumza is doing. Because they're not going to be looking for startups, people that are just starting. They're looking for, where are those people that were doing during the storm that we can use? This is the time where the startups start doing your thing. Entrepreneurs, start your business, start laying your foundation, get your coaching. Next year, 2021, 2022, we are just soaring. We are bearing fruit from what we have planted. We are harvesting. So if you are a sleeping lioness, it's time to awaken.
You know, I love how you make it real, Dr. Hazel, and no one can say you make it flowery. You talk about the season when there are downs. It's not an easy thing to build. And there are times where people will look at you and say, what is wrong with her? What is she doing? But because you have your own vision and you're anchored in something, you know exactly what you're doing. You know where you're headed. Tell me about this thing, this desire to leave something of legacy behind. I know you're a woman of faith, and it's of course coming from the fact that you know that you are fruitful. You know that you are a wise man who will leave a legacy for your children and the children's children. But how does it appear in you, and the fact that it re-energizes you every day, even on those down moments, and even when we don't see it, we still build?
Yeah, I think what people don't understand is that if you want to leave a legacy, you've got to do what I would call deliberate goal setting. You know, I started off going into the schools, but I wrote my vision down. You want to leave your legacy. What's the vision? What do you see? You know, I always tell the story of Walt Disney, whereby he was sitting in an open park. And he was sitting there and his staff were looking at him, but there was nothing in front of him. And he would sit there for hours. And then one day, one of his staff says, what are you looking at? You know what I mean? I don't understand. You come and you sit here for hours. And you know what? He said, I see the rides. I see the roller coasters. What do you see? What is the vision? You know, legacy starts with the vision. And when you write the vision down, you've got to follow through. And let me tell you that once you write the vision down, we talked about along the way, you'll go through trials and challenges. Do you give up? No. You know what's happening to me? Funny enough, we're talking about legacy. I had a bit of a cry yesterday. I watched one of my videos on YouTube and I wept and I wept and I wept because I was going into the schools. It was almost 10 years going in there. And it didn't matter to me who was watching. And so when you're building your legacy, are you doing it for people or are you doing it, you know what I mean, for yourself? This is the important thing, is that who are you doing it for? Because if it's something you're passionate about, if it's about purpose, then congratulations, good on you. Legacy is not about trying to just please people. It's about walking in your purpose, you know? And when people look back, they'll say, look what she did. Really and truly, I don't think that when you just try to copy somebody, I keep talking about authenticity, and I think it's important people are watching, is that be authentic even in your deliberate attempts to leave a legacy. You know, when I say be authentic, is that do what you're passionate about. Do what it is that grieves you, that when you see, because you know what, you're going to be the best person at doing it. And then surround yourself with the go-getters, people that align themselves with the vision. But the most important thing is that I had to start. It was a journey that I started alone. You have to start, and then the people will follow. They'll catch on later. You know, some people give up because they want to rally everybody. Oh, come see my vision. Come help me. No, I started off on my own. I saw there's a problem here. And I went and said, come, guys, let's go and feed the destitute.
Mm-hmm.
Who's with me?
Mm-hmm.
I started rallying the volunteers. Do you know that my family laughed at me even when I started my business? They thought I was insane opening a Christian bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to buy books? She's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking to the women where it has never been done in your family. No one has started a business. No one has even left Gauteng, and they're laughing at you. Where are you going to Australia? Do you know, I went to a Juanita Bynum conference and people said it could never be done. Where are you going? I saved the money. I went to the, it was called the, what was it called? I can't remember, but it was, and I went and I learned. I've always been somebody who watched. And I came and I did the same thing in Zimbabwe. Everybody wore t-shirts. Go for it, ladies. Go for it. They'll catch on later.
You know, you mentioned two important things, Dr. Hazel. One of them is that there are dream killers. You know, the people that you walked on in the journey are not necessarily the people that you will carry towards your purpose. Because, you know, there's a point where there's separation. You know, God makes separation. I suppose from a Christian anchoring, we always understand that time. That, you know what, God will separate you because he wants to talk to you separately. And he wants to, you know, he wants you, firstly, to buy into this vision because his vision is always big. We play small because we can't see what he's seeing. So you say something important because we get comfortable to be in the setups, the friendships, the relationships that we have to the extent that it can actually kill, you know, the dream. Talk to the woman who has to separate themselves, and it can probably, most likely, it's probably not going to be permanent. You may meet these people in future, but sometimes when you need to nurture that dream and you need to be like a hen that is sitting over her chicken and, you know, you nest over this. And it's a hard kind of separation because the people have been your life, but you have to have this thing now nurtured and built as your life. What can you advise them? And I like what you do because you demystify what people think is, they think it's a unique journey, but the journey of legacy building comes with all these steps, although in different contexts with different people.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to remain true to yourself. I mean, I've met a lot of people that wanted me to forsake my faith. Oh, no, you know, if you talk about Jesus, you know what I mean? It's bad for business. Hey, listen, we've all got our different target markets. We've got lots of religions. They celebrate their God. Why is it when I have to celebrate my God, it's a problem? But obviously, you've got to create the balance. So stay true to yourself and don't sell your soul, number one. Number two, oh my gosh, when I started my legacy, my business, my family, all they could see was it can't be done. It can't be done. And you know, one of your, when you're married, it's also your spouse. Because he's watched you from the time you got married, especially if you married young. He doesn't see the entrepreneur and the businesswoman in you. And he's thinking, oh, my Lord, she's going to waste the money. And you're like, give me a chance. Give me a chance. You know? And here's the thing I want to encourage the women is that you said something so powerful. How badly do you want this? Do you really believe in your vision? How about proving to the people surrounding you that number one, you can be diligent. You know, because when people want to invest in you and your project, show them that you can do it. Get up early. Go back to school. I went back to school. Isn't it? You can't tell me that you want to go and invent hair products and you don't even understand how the products come together. You know what I mean? You want to associate with people on a certain level. Some of these people you have to associate with, you've got to go and get a degree. You've got to go onto their platforms. They're not going to come into the village, you know? So to meet them, you've got to get an education. What am I saying? You've got your vision. Surround yourself with the go-getters. You know, get a good mentor. Get a good mentor. People in leadership positions where you're aspiring to go to. If they want to have to become an ambassador, get a mentor like yourself. You know what I mean? Watch this kind of podcast. You know what I mean? And invest in yourself. What is this where you want to do everything and get everything for free? Why is it that you don't want to pay for yourself? You are a company. Invest in yourself. And for goodness sake, some things are going to be expensive. So save for them. I mean, I've spoken on platforms with celebrities. I've had to fly there. I've had to spend the money. And that's what will differentiate in the marketplace, because we've got a group of people that don't believe in investing themselves. I'm going to Google it. I want to do things by myself. And it takes them longer to get to their destination. But the wise who have invested in a business coach, who have gone out of the way to get a mentor, it takes them a shorter time to get to their destination.
And that is so profound, because if you're not going to invest in yourselves, who will? You are the best investment that you can actually make in your lifetime. So tell me, how does Hazel rebalance herself? Where does she get all the energy? Because I see her giving talks, I see her in platforms, I know she's like lining up a publication, this publication. Where do you get all this energy from? And you know what is important about energy, Dr. Hazel? It's not just the energy to show up, it's the energy, the aura you come with as well in the room. Because it's not just about showing up, that she was there, but you come energized, you come willing to impart, you come with something that you will leave and make a mark with people.
Yeah. I think the most important thing for me is that when I don't pray and when I don't exercise first thing in the morning, I just, my day will go okay. But those are the things, I've made sure in my life that I have daily habits, good daily habits, and I'm consistent in that. And some people meditate, some people do yoga. I pray. I pray. The first thing is that I go and I pray, and I love praise and worship. I love to sing. And then after that, I exercise, and then I study a bit of the word. And I'll tell you something, that's what works for me. Everybody's different, but that's what works. That's the first thing that I do in the morning. And but I wasn't always like this. I used to get up and I just want to get things done and get busy, confused. You've got to have things planned out, your goals, and stick to them. And Pumza, we talk about creating the balance. I'm an advocate for putting family first. I'll tell you something, is that today I die, I will be replaced. I will be replaced. There is no such thing as an irreplaceable person. I see a lot of CEOs neglecting their wives, their family, and they live for the job, and then they get ill and then they don't have time for their family. So I want to encourage you. Your family is important, take care of your family and create the balance. There's work, spend time with the children.
And that is so profound, because what we tend to chase is we always give ourselves that, I'm in the phase of building, and it never ends, because you always will build the next thing. You get excited to build the next thing. So I love what you're saying, in as far as at least try by all means to build a balance at whatever phase you find yourself in. Dr. Hazel, there's always a feeling that I am doing work when I'm doing what I'm doing. It actually is not work for me, because it just inspires me. This is where I get spoiled by all these amazing women. And I think what is particularly exciting about your interview is you make it real. When I see that, Dr. Hazel, you can be so intimidating in those pictures, because you are raised you're all in your power, and you have all these things, and your eye, the branding and the marketing really is you. It's you, because I see just how you do everything. There's precision. And there's a finish of, that's unique to you. There's so many people you go through on LinkedIn, but when you come to Hazel Herrington, you're like, stop. And you're like, oh my God, how did she do it? The color contrast there, whatever, she just does it so perfectly. And you are an amazing woman. I'm so blessed by you stopping by at She Unleashed and really doing your part in unleashing the chains on some other woman that is sitting there thinking that they can't. I call the show Unleashed because there's a part of force, that has to take a woman, when the woman has had enough. And it's not about just, I'm going to pray through my situation. It's also about you taking the power and taking the action to say, now what? I believe in this prayer that I've been praying. Therefore, I unleash myself from whatever has been the chains, whether it's in my mind or physical or emotional chains, but I take the position. And I'm so happy you did just that. You took the show not to only the level of us talking superficial, but you took it to the faith part, to the doing part, to the plan part, to the action. And I'm so grateful, and it's been such an honor. Now tell me, just leave me with 3 things that I should look out for in Dr. Hazel in the coming months.
Okay, well, we are going to be publishing the presidential magazine. Mm-hmm. That's one to look out for, everybody. Mm-hmm. Go onto our website, harringtonpublications.com, mm-hmm. and make sure you have a look at the website, our issue of the presidential, and look at the cover feature. You'll be surprised. Secondly, I joined an organization called Uspired. And if you want to learn more about my entrepreneurial journey, go to uspired.com, mm-hmm. and join a monthly coaching program. It's only $20, mm-hmm. and you can watch me and my journey every day, maybe 3 times a week, depending on how many videos I share. Mm-hmm. And I talk about marketing, and I talk about entrepreneurship and creating the balance. Mm-hmm. And the last thing you can look out for is I've got a big announcement coming out this week, another big project I'll be doing with the US Presidential Service Center. Look mm-hmm. out for that this week. I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's already announced. So follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and look out for these announcements. Thank you, Pumza.
Absolutely amazing. We'll definitely share those as we post the video. And I really look forward to this because I know you will do it. I know you will deliver on all of this. And for our listeners, really $20 is nothing to listen to this dynamite every day. I wish I can just switch her on every time I wake up in the morning, just as a reminder to pray, to exercise, and to do the balance. But more than anything, it is a gift that is in the woman. This woman, you cannot come around her and not give